So if you're not taking care of your people, they're not going to care about your mission. It's really as simple as that. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your people, especially when your people need you the most.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast for HR managers, supervisors, and directors about how to manage your employees that are going through a divorce process. And today is a really, really incredible topic. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can recognize your employees that are going through a divorce or, some sort of relationship issue, and really about what you can and can't say. So I'm really excited about our guest today. Elina Greiff has been coaching people for so many years in the areas of emotional intelligence, career and life transitions, relationships, and even parenting. Elina Greiff has been coaching people for many years in the areas of emotional intelligence, career and life transitions, relationships, and parenting. Since getting certified as a divorce coach, she has decided to focus on working with parents who are going through a divorce and helping them reduce the emotional and financial impact of divorce on their families. Elina is passionate about supporting parents and advocating for children through the entire process of divorce. For more information about her coaching practice, please visit her at coachingbyelina.com. And Elina, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so glad this is such an important topic.
Well, Vicki, thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. I am so excited to be here with you talking about it. As you know, this is definitely a passion of mine, is educating people about the impact of divorce on the workplace, on what happens, in a corporate world when someone is going through divorce. So I'm like super excited to dive into this conversation.
Me too. So let's get started. So Elina, with your expertise in the workplace and with corporations, what are some of the signs in the workplace that someone might be going through a divorce or maybe having personal problems at home?
Well, absolutely. First off, I would like to say that as a manager or HR professional, you're not going to know if someone is having, a health challenge or a personal problem at home, or they're going through divorce. But some of the signs, that you can look for is inability to focus. You're going to see that people who are dealing with personal challenges or, divorce are probably going to be missing more work because a lot of those appointments and a lot of the conversations they need to have during business hours. You might see that someone is more distracted than normal. You might see that there's a certain change in performance. Someone who was able to deliver things on time all the time is all of a sudden, late on reports or projects, just not able to meet the deliverables. You might see that a person who was usually really good-natured all of a sudden is more irritable. They might be more angry. They might be showing more emotional kind of instability. You can see that someone might be more withdrawn, maybe not communicating as much. This is something that a lot of people have reported in conversations, that they see someone who was, very outgoing and social. All of a sudden, that person is just withdrawn and not able to communicate. You might see a loss of confidence. You might see that someone who was able to present or, speak up in meetings is all of a sudden just not feeling confident as they're going through the process. Ability to get along with others. Someone who might have not had this problem before is all of a sudden really struggling communicating with the peers, right? And again, when I said that you're not going to know, which one of those problems is occurring in the house is because, and we will talk about it later, but you might not know if it's just, some kind of situational thing going on in their life, right? In the relationship or health, or necessarily divorce. But when you see those kinds of symptoms, or you see a big change in performance or behavior, this is a time to pay attention as a manager or HR professional. This is a time you want to offer, help and support. And we're going to talk about more of that, in the next questions.
Absolutely. So, you've been talking about their productivity, their inability to maybe turn in reports on time. What is the impact of divorce on productivity, or maybe even the bottom line in that business setting?
Well, we know for a fact that the reality is that most people who are going through divorce are going to have a substantial dip in productivity, in their ability to, deliver at the same level, in their ability to be engaged in a workplace. And that is, totally understandable once you know what is going on with them, right? Because the truth of the matter is, it takes so much energy to handle the emotional side of divorce, right? It takes so much energy and it takes so much time because every appointment, with your attorney, every appointment you might have with a financial advisor or mediator or any of the divorce, professionals usually occur during business hours, right? So if someone has a job where it's 9 to 5, typical corporate environment, they are going to be, they have to take time off to have those conversations, right? Not to mention just the emotional side of dealing with attorneys, dealing with their, ex, soon to be ex, figuring out the childcare. That alone is really big, right? Because if they're parents and they were used to sharing childcare, for example, I take my son or daughter to school in the morning, you pick them up, kind of sharing the responsibility. All of a sudden, they're going to have to figure out what happens when it's their parenting time and there is no longer that other person who can just, hey, can you just go to school right now, right? I'm in the middle of the meeting. They're going to have to make arrangements, and all of that takes time, right? Some research has suggested that the reduction of productivity for employees is actually about 40% during the time of divorce, which is significant, again, but understandable. This can continue for up to a year, depending on how long, their divorce is going on. But even afterwards, right, just making the adjustments and understanding that there will be a loss of productivity. What do we do? How do we hold people responsible for, still delivering our performance? What can we do as managers? How do we support the person going through such a major life-altering traumatic event? That's where the conversation, right, really needs to take place.
Agreed. So as a manager or an HR professional, what are some of the questions you can ask of the person? And what are some questions that you shouldn't ask?
Yeah, this is a really, really great question. And I think this is kind of the crux of the matter, right, for us as managers or HR professionals. The advice is my advice, and in general, this is very typical kind of advice given in those situations, is that you want to focus on performance and what you observe. You might ask this person, based on my observation, I've seen that I'm noticing that you seem to be a little more, withdrawn or maybe not as engaged. Is there anything going on that I can help you with, right? Something very general. Based on specific, performance. Like, for example, if someone is in a meeting, right, and they did not speak up or they weren't able to act like they normally do, right? You could say, I observed that maybe you were a little distracted or just like something was a little off in, what I normally see from you. Is there anything going on that maybe, I can help with, or anything that you would like to share? What you don't want to do is, even if you heard, sometimes there's rumors and people know what's going on, right? Someone shares with someone and the information gets to you as a manager. And let's say that you heard the rumor that someone is going through divorce, you don't want to confront the person and ask, right? You don't want to say, hey, I heard that you're going through divorce. Is that true? Because you want to respect the person's privacy and you want to give them a chance to share what they are comfortable sharing with you, right? You don't want to cross the line of, I am now your, therapist or coach, and let me coach you on your divorce. You want to maintain that professionalism, right? So it's always good to, listen with empathy and compassion. You don't want to cross the line into becoming a therapist or a coach. That's really important. You don't want to ask personal questions, like such as, even if they tell you like, look, I'm having a hard time, I'm going through divorce, You don't want to open up the can of worms and start asking them, hey, so tell me, so who initiated the divorce? Like, what's going on? Like, who's going to have the kids? Do you have an attorney? What does your attorney say? You don't want to have those conversations in the workplace, especially when you are their manager or HR representative, right? You want to stay out of that type of conversation. Maybe coworkers can ask that, right? But not someone who is leading that person in a workplace. It's really not appropriate. But again, listen with empathy, listen with compassion. Just show them that you want to help them, and there are resources, and we will talk about resources. But you don't need to get into the conversation of making them feel better. You don't want to invalidate how they're feeling. You don't want to convince them of anything, right? You just want to hold space and say, look, I'm here for you. What can I do? And just leave it at that.
I think that's great advice. So how do you hold someone accountable for their deliverables and still kind of support them through that process?
Well, you definitely want to be very upfront. And what I mean by that is, as an organization, as HR professionals, you definitely want to have some kind of policy or some kind of guidelines for those types of situations. Because let's face it, 50% of people statistically are going to go through divorce. If you have no policies, you have no idea how to handle this, right? It's going to be very, very difficult because you're not going to be consistent and you're not going to be upfront. And when someone asks you, hey, can I take extra time? Can I have more flexible arrangement? What can you do to help support me? You will have no answers. So you want to be upfront, and you want to know, as an organization, someone going through this process, what can we do to really support that person through the process? Another thing you want to do is definitely be very, very fair. Be ready to delegate responsibilities for a set period of time. You don't want to have this impact the team, forever and ever, right? Someone's divorced, you have to be careful. You're not saying that, hey, you could just show up and do nothing forever and ever. You don't want to do that. You have to be fair, but don't hold them to, maybe unrealistic deadlines. Don't tell them that it's okay, you'll get over it, just focus on work, right? Because it will take time for them to get over it, right? And you're not in a position to tell them how long it should take to get over something like divorce. So just be fair. Be very careful as well. Make sure that you do not, that if they share with you something confidential, that you do not break the trust with your employee, and you do not share confidential information outside of HR and management. And that information, you cannot start gossiping or spreading rumors of saying, hey, well, it's okay, they're going through divorce. You never want to bring this up, right? It's very important to be very, very confidential and keep that information to yourself. Now, again, any guidelines, any formal improvements, if someone needs to be put on a performance improvement plan, if they're really, really not performing, you have to hold them to certain standards of performance, but never based on the fact that they're going through divorce, right? Because in some companies, in some states, not companies, but in some states, the marriage status is a protected category. So if you discriminate against someone based on the fact that they're going through divorce, like California is one state, it's protected. So if a person, can show that you're discriminating because they're going through divorce, you might find yourself in some legal trouble. And not only is this really not ethical, it's just not good practice, right? You don't want to discriminate someone based on the fact that they're going through divorce. And then, definitely just be good to them. Recognize that they need the energy to deal with this. And, that's okay. So give them the time and give them some flexibility. And above all, just be human, right? Because it's such a common thing that affects so many people. You want to make sure that you take care of your people. This is one of my management philosophies, is that you want to take care of your people if you want your people to take care of your mission. Ooh, right? So if you're not taking care of your people, they're not going to care about your mission. It's really as simple as that. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your people, especially when your people need you the most.
Exactly. And it's so true. And if organizations can understand that if they support those employees, they'll have them longer. They will be a loyal employee. Their employee retention will be higher. And that will just permeate throughout the culture of the company, that they support their employees when they're kind of going through a really rough time, whether it's divorce or something else. It's a wonderful statement to make to your employees. So as a manager or an HR professional, what services or support can you recommend to the person going through a divorce?
Well, this is, really, really important, I think, for any manager, any HR professional to know what options your company has for support of someone going through it. For example, a lot of companies, not all companies, but a lot of many companies have EAP plans, right? Employee assistance programs for employees. And a lot of times you can get counseling, you can get therapy through those plans. And you can find resources. Now, we heard that now some of those EAP plans are also allowing coaching or coaches to be part of the EAP plans, but it's very important for you to at least know what the company has in place for support of people going through this, right? It might be even a good idea to know how does insurance cover therapy, right? So if someone reporting to you and they come to you and they say, hey, I really need a really good therapist. Do you know if our insurance plan covers it? It might be a good idea for you to have an answer and say, actually, yes, they do. They have 6 sessions or 8 sessions on a particular topic. So please utilize them, reach out for help. Hey, we have an EAP plan, we have insurance, this is how it's covered. You don't have to be a specialist in insurance, but it's a good idea to at least give them, an idea of what's available out there, because they are going through such a tough time emotionally, and they're so confused about so many things because they have to make so many decisions. Decision fatigue sets in, right? Because they're making decisions all the time. They're very, very difficult. So if you can simplify this and say, hey, here's a phone number for EAP, call them, tell them what you need, they will help you. Right? It might go really a long way.
Oh, that's awesome. So as we close up, what are some tips for HR professionals that you can provide here today as we come to a close of our podcast today?
Sure. Well, the first and foremost, I think this one is really the most important, is show genuine compassion and empathy, right? It really goes without saying that people who are going through a hard time really, really need to know that you care. Because I really honestly believe that loyalty is earned. So when companies talk about loyalty, it goes both ways. And you really have to show loyalty to someone who's going through a hard time if you want loyalty back, right? So that's really important. Now, number 2 is, I already spoke about it a little bit, but really understanding the resources your company has to offer support, knowing about how does this apply to COBRA, because divorce is a qualifying event. So how does this apply if someone has to be added to insurance, taking off insurance in the middle of the year because of divorce? Understanding the policy, what EAP plans you have, what insurance options you have for therapy, for counseling, for support, for coaching. That's also really, really important for you to know. And then number 3 is ask what they need to be productive, and be willing to come up with a solution that would work. Perhaps, while you hold consistent performance standards, is there some flexibility you can offer people for a period of time so that they can have those appointments, right? Maybe they can make up hours like later in the evenings for the meetings that they need to have with divorce professionals. You offer them some flexibility. You ask them if they need additional support. Maybe someone on the team can pair up with them and deliver. But ask them what they need to be productive. And sometimes just asking, holding space and listening, people will tell you what they need, right? Don't always assume you know the right answer.
And not only asking them what they need, that I believe makes the employee feel heard. And
Yes.
sometimes that's all they need, right? That's enough to make them feel like somebody is caring about whatever is happening in their home life and their personal life. So I agree. I think that this was an awesome topic, and we're going to have more of this topic in our our HR training program that we'll have coming out soon. So if there's interest in that, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me even personally at Vicki at divorceright.coach. And I look forward to helping you all help your staff get some empathy and some compassion behind the divorce process. Elina, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to have had you here today. One last time, could you just tell them a little bit about your practice and how they can reach out to you and what some of the things that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vicki. Yes, I am a certified divorce coach. I'm also a certified parenting coach. I specialize in working with parents who are going through divorce. My passion is to help them save money during the process, make their process a little less painful, reduce the trauma of divorce for themselves and their children. And, like I always say, I help parents put on their own oxygen mask on so that they can help their kids put their masks on as they're going through the turbulence of divorce. You can reach me at coachingbyelina.com. You can set up a free consultation anytime with me through my website. Consultations are free, and I'm here to help and support you in any way I can.
Well, thank you so much. This is a wonderful topic today. I want to wish everybody a good day. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at divorceright.coach. I look forward to it. Thank you, Elina. Thank you for everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.